Hey everyone, welcome back to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes day by day. Today is the 9th, still, barely. Just uploaded the last video today. Should be going live in about 11 minutes from now, but 11 or 12. So it's supposed to go live at 11:30. Why is it going live at 11:30? Because I told you I'm going to try to do date and date the best I can, and sometimes it happens when I want it to happen. Sometimes it happens when it should naturally happen, and sometimes it happens at 11 o'clock at night. And there's not really a rhyme or reason for it. It's just kind of what ends up happening. It's not by design, it's just by happenstance. And guys, I know in the earlier video I talked about my frustration with the Switch 2, and it's like, or the people that poo-poo the Switch 2, and it's just like I said. If it's good, if you think it's worth the money, buy it. And I don't understand why people are making such a big deal about it. No, I do know why. It's because people will watch clickbait, all this fun stuff, and and but to me, it's just so juvenile. But I wanted to talk to you about some stuff. So, I've been learning a lot of stuff recently. It started before we went on vacation, and then when, I talked about before I went on vacation. I talked about change of place plus change of pace equals change of perspective. And I found out, because I had forgotten that even though you can have a change of place and change of pace, when you have children, especially ones like mine that are 5 and 6, and they ask you questions all the time, that just adds more stress to that. But if you're serious about it, you can find what you're looking for. You just gotta be willing. You just gotta be really determined to look for it. And if you aren't, that's fine. If you aren't, then you're gonna miss it. And you have to be intentional. And sometimes during the day, I'll go through my day and I'll be very intentional about everything. Like today, I think I did a very good intentional job of eating. I didn't have anything, I didn't have like a candy bar or anything. I didn't have a soda. All I had was about a swig and a half of the sweet tea my wife had left over, because I was desperate for it. And she was like, "Oh, I've got some sweet tea," and it ended up being like basically nothing. And then aside from that, didn't have a great low carb day, but kept the extra sugar at bay because we had spaghetti for dinner. I had just a very thin, a low carb lunch, and aside from that, just protein bars all day. So I had a really good day eating, but I had to be intentional about that, because most days I'm not. Like tomorrow, it very likely will be pretty poor. I'm going to try to make it as good as possible, but there's just something about when I'm at work. I just need a little pick-me-up. And, I'm going to try my best to be intentional about making sure that if that is the only down spot in my day, that if that is the only down spot in my day, there's no other um, mistakes in my day. And you have to be very intentional about that, because my wife, I love her so much, and she complains about being overweight. But so I think I mentioned that yesterday was the former foster son's birthday, and we had a party here, and we had cake. So I had cake and ice cream yesterday. Okay. Didn't have either one of those today. She was complaining about whatever, and then later I see her on the front porch in her outside swing eating ice cream, and I'm like, I didn't say anything to her because I know she's got a lot on her plate, and but it's just one of the things. It's like, really. But one of the things that I discovered on vacation, I think I probably already said this, is don't make things harder than they need to be. And so yesterday when I was at church, I know the pastor invited, hey, if you need to come up and receive this, then feel free. So I'm sitting there wrestling because I'm just kind of out of it with everything, kind of, my mind was kind of spinning weirdly all weekend. And I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to go forward. I don't want to do this. And God's just like, I thought we were not making it harder than it is to be. And what you're doing is making this harder than it needs to be. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I am. And so I came to terms, and I'm not real sure what the uptick of, I'm going to get destroyed here. These guys, for whatever reason, in this fleet are just rough. They're just rough. But yeah, I did that, and I've been echoing it to anybody who will listen about not making stuff harder than it needs to be. I'm surprised we lost that. Came in 7th, oh well. But that's what we're trying to do. I think I started this year and I had to go back and research it. I had to go back in my text message because I was like, what did I start the year with? And if you go back to my beginning of the year videos, you'll see that I'm talking a lot about, or hopefully I probably didn't talk about it as much as I should, but I know I did a little bit, is making space. And we've seen the need to make space with us having to provide daycare, me having to provide daycare for our former foster son, and then having this additional foster son. And that was him teaching us to make space because I'm kind of feeling like we're going to end up with another child beside, but whatever. And so we made space, and we need to lead. And I've always done a pretty bad job at leading, but I'm trying to get better. And I think this is one of the venues where I try. And I know I missed the mark a lot of days. But just by the nature of who I am and not being Mr. raw GAC like everybody else is. What? Are we doing Hoth? Is this right? Why is nobody attacked? What is this? I don't even know. Nobody said anything. I'm like, this is a message. Nobody said anything. I don't know who Gunk Droid is. Um, I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't know if we're doing Hoth. Why is nobody? I don't know for us. It's like we're doing Hoth, but I don't know. Go may be falling apart. I don't know yet. But yeah, I mean, you've really got to be intentional about stuff, and so it's so make space, lead, and then the third one was all in. And that's what I really try to do is make sure that I'm going all in. And honestly, some days I miss the mark. I mean, if you don't, then you're a better person than I am. But I think we all have down days. Like this weekend was just weird. I think it was like, I don't know what day it was, but there was like a day that I did like a 4-minute video and an 8-minute video. And I was just off that day. And I'm not sure why. But I think that was part of everything that I've had going on. And so we're trying to make adjustments going forward. We're trying to lean more into what I was told to do at church yesterday. And I don't know what any of that looks like. I don't know how that's going to turn out. And so I'm going to be very patient. I'm going to wait and just see what happens. I don't know why I refreshed that. But I'm going to be very patient and just wait. And be very intentional about a lot of stuff. And a lot of it may not make sense, but I've got to try anyway. And so none of this is going to happen overnight. There's, and we're just going to try to make the best of it as best we can. And really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to where we're going. You know, we're still on this path that we've been on as far as the game goes for a long while. And we're going to continue to be on it for a long while. And it's going to end, you know, every day we get a little bit closer. We get like, today we finished a piece for Barris that, you know, number 4 piece, I guess. And now we've got to finish the number 5. And then after we get done with the number 5 piece, we're done with it. Because we're going to finish the number 6. And that'll be another one, you know, that we have done. And then we'll just wait for months. And then ultimately, when we do end up getting her to Relic 1, when we have her modded up, she'll move off the screen. Then we'll move on to whoever's next, and then whoever's next after that, and we'll keep going until we get to where we need to be. And as we're doing this, we're not doing it happenstancely. We're doing it very intentionally. We're doing it very cautiously. We're trying not to get too far out ahead of where we need to be, and we're just trying to let things come to us. And it's, being this hybrid free to play, because I never intended for this account to have any money spent on it. But and for a lot of stuff, it's not helped us out a lot, because we did pick up the Shadows of the Empire, and that helped us out a lot. And so that's a thing that the reason I knew I was going to buy this, because I knew I would end up using a lot of that, and also Princess Leia and Lando were in there, and that's part of where we're going. And then with the Bad Batch, obviously bought that for the practicality of not having to farm any having to deal with as many covers as those guys had going on. I think it comes with the Marauder, which might be nice. I don't know if it does, but if it does, that's just an added bonus. And then aside from that, what else did we buy? Oh, the only other two things we bought were the Revan packs, which we did pay off, and we are working on, we're headed towards Darth Malak. So we've been really practical in our spending. We've really been intentional about our spending. And we've really, like I said, the Shadows of the Empire was just, because we knew that we were probably going to lean into going towards those characters, and we have. And with the Revan packs, we've done the same with them. We finished Revan, and Malak is part of this thing that we're doing now. And then once we finish Malak, that whole team will be ready to rock and roll, ready for prime time. And just having that additional thing in the arsenal is golden. And then the Bad Batch, when we get around to getting Lord Vader, and we will get Lord Vader at some point. I wish I could tell you when, but it's like, I don't know. Because we're almost finished with Barris, and then we got, a couple more. Like I said, after Barris will go Killer One, and we're hoping that we won't have to we're hoping that we won't have to go into Ayla, and we're just able to sort of, hey, Ayla, you're done. You're fine. We'll come back to you at some point when we get around to going for GK. I mean, JMK, sorry. But for now, we're not. But, ultimately, I still do. Where is this thing? Ultimately, I still want to go in this direction. I don't need the wad because we've already got wad in the scope for whatever reason. But I am a little worried about the guild now. But ultimately, Kelron's on the list to be worked on. At some point, we need to come back for Savage. At some point, we need to, bring up these troopers. At some point, we need to work on these bounty hunters more. But then, we got this done. This is done. This is done. This is done-ish. Thankfully, we don't need to pop low or low grade for what's her name. We're headed towards Mon right now. We've got all these characters, and then, sort of the next thing after Leia, it's going to be probably Mommy Mandalore. Honestly. And once we, And so we do have, it's probably going to take us a couple years to get there because we are, so you can pretty much say, hey, this is what's going to happen next immediately after we get done with these characters that we have on our plate that are leading us to Leia. So, if you want to add characters in, if you want to go ahead and add characters in, you could probably just be like, he's got Halloween costume, Grogu here, and Paz, and is that it? Yeah, that will be it because we already have Korra. But we will need Bo-Katan there eventually, but we're not there yet. And I don't want to add any more, when we get done with Barris, and I don't know, how long is it going to take to finish Barris? A while. It'll take a while to finish Barris. Once she's done, that'll be good. And then she'll be off the screen, and we'll shrink it down, and start on Kelleron, and hopefully we won't. Like I said, hopefully we won't end up needing Ayla, but probably will. But we're still gonna have some work to do because we need to finish Shakti, obviously. Shakti, and we obviously need to finish Scout Trooper. So got a long way to go. But we're on our way, and I invite you to start being more intentional because I don't, a lot of people think that just because I'm not Mr. GC, and because I'm not Mr. GL, that I'm just wandering around, and that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm being very intentional about where I'm going. Anyway, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate all of you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Otherwise, just hang in there. As always, God bless. Make sure you hold the line. And remember that I have friends everywhere. Good night.